foot of that. And so, yeah, 1 week after graduation, I was at Shea Stadium. So I got to be there the whole rest of that regular season. The team obviously went to the World Series against the Yankees. So I was able to be there for the playoffs and the World Series and all that. And once I got that foot in the door, I just never wanted to let it close. And
The Dissection with Erin Mulligan. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Discussion Table Series. This is episode 2. And today I'm so excited to be speaking to a best-selling author, a New York City marathon runner, and MLB New York Yankees beat reporter Bryan Hoch. How are you?
doing great. Thank you for having me, Erin.
Thank you for coming on. To start off, I know you're married. You have 2 little girls. I love watching you and Penny on your Instagram stories. How has quarantine been?
Thank you. It's been weird. We were down in Tampa for the majority of it. When spring training stopped, we just didn't leave. New York didn't seem like the best place to go back in March. And so we stayed down there just figuring that when baseball came back, if baseball came back, it was going to be in Tampa. And obviously, New York and Florida have kind of switched now, and now Florida is the place where you don't want to be. So we're back in the New York area, and I've been going out to the summer camp and watching the workouts there. And it's weird. It's different. It's different being in the ballpark with no fans. The picture behind me is not accurate. That is that is from a different time. And so it's a strange time, but I am glad that baseball is back, and I feel like it's something we can at least get excited about.
Yeah, me too. So I want to start off with, you're from New York. What was it like growing up in Sloatsburg?
Sloatsburg's a small town. It's 2 stoplights, about 3,000 people. The bigger town was next door. That was Suffern, and that probably had 10,000 people. So, but yeah, Sloatsburg was kind of a little bit country compared to the more suburban school where I went to high school in Suffern. And so, it was fun. You ride bikes, you play ball, and I grew up in the late 80s, the early 90s, and so we didn't have the internet and that kind of stuff. So it was quiet for sure, but when you're 8 or 10 years old, you don't really want to do much other than just watch TV, watch cartoons and stuff. So, it was a good place to grow up. You felt safe. You felt safe riding your bike around, and Rockland County is the best. I'm glad I grew up there.
Growing up, were you always interested in journalism?
Yeah, I grew interested in it. I remember doing a class newspaper in 4th grade that I did on my computer at home, my parents' computer, and then printed out and had to bring in, and the teacher had to Xerox it. And I remember, kind of editing, my classmates' stories and stuff. And I don't know what started that. My dad always used to bring the newspapers in, and he would get like the Times and the Daily News and the Post and the Wall Street Journal. And I didn't understand all of it, but I knew I was interested in it. And so I also remember there was one point, probably 2nd or 3rd grade, where somebody from the Rockland Journal News came and spoke to my class. And that kind of, I must have planted a seed that, hey, writing about stuff, you get to talk to a lot of people, you get to experience things. And it's a career that was out there. And I guess that always stuck.
I agree. I had like a similar experience, I guess. In 6th grade, we had to write our own article. And then that's when I discovered that I loved it.
Yeah.
So, in high school, I found out you had a website about the Mets, and it was pretty popular. What was that like?
This is kind of like the wild, wild west times of the internet. We're talking 1996. So, it's dial-up internet. I was on Prodigy, I think, at the time, which was like the bootleg AOL. And so, it's just, that was a time where if I was born 10 years earlier or 10 years later, I couldn't have done that, I don't think. And so it was just a matter of being in the right place at the right time. And you got to go back to 1996. There's no real MLB.com. There was not a Mets.com. And there was a Yankees.com. They were one of the first people to get on there. But I don't know, I was 14 years old, high school freshman, and I was into computers, obviously into writing, and I loved baseball. Baseball was my passion ever since probably I was 8 years old. And so I don't know what would have spurred me to start a website about the Mets other than to just kind of see if I could do it. And it grew. And it gained a following. I think that there just wasn't any competition out there at that time. And so if you typed in to Yahoo or whatever search engine you're doing, and you wanted to find something about the Mets, sooner or later I came up. And so a lot of people, and so that built an audience. And I think especially once they started having a message board on it where people could kind of chat back and forth in a forum. I mean, this is so primitive compared to what we have now with social media, but that's what we had at the time. And so it really built a community, and it also allowed me to kind of test the waters with writing. And I'm sure what I wrote in 1997 or 98 was not great, but it's like anything else. The more you do it, you learn what works, you learn what doesn't work. And it led to a great opportunity with the Mets in 2000, where I got to be in the press box and have a press credential and really see how the big boys were doing it.
Right. So were you a Mets fan growing up?
It's a weird story. So I was started out a Yankees fan. Don Mattingly was my guy. And the strike happened in 1994, and it broke my heart. I was 12 years old, and I just said, I am done with baseball. Like, we're not going to have a World Series, and I'm not watching baseball. And the Rangers were good at the time. The Knicks were pretty good at the time. So I kind of wandered away from baseball for a while. And 2 years later, my dad was a Mets fan. My grandfather was a Brooklyn Dodgers fan who became a Mets fan. And so they were trying to bring me over to their side. And they said, hey, Todd Hundley's good behind the plate. They've got these young pitchers who are coming, Jason Isringhausen, Bill Pulsifer, Paul Wilson. Come watch some Mets with us. And so I kind of got into the Mets a little bit, but it turned out to be the worst time to become a Mets fan because the Yankees are about to win the 96 World Series. They're going to win in 98, 99, 2000. And those are the years that I'm in high school, and I got to hear it from all my friends. And so, me going around suffering high school with a Mets hat on those years was kind of ugly at times. But it was great because, I obviously fell in love with that team and felt pretty passionate about it, passionate enough to write about it every day. And it led to some great opportunities. So I wouldn't change a thing.
Awesome. So after high school, you went to Ramapo College, like 20 minutes from where I live.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm majoring in radio and TV, but I did change my major a few times. What made you go to Ramapo? What was your major?
Communications. I think that it was just the convenience of it because, 1 week after I graduated from high school, I started that internship with the Mets at Shea Stadium. And so I was in the press box and getting to see how it was behind the scenes. The Mets had actually reached out to me and said, I started a line of communication with a guy named Tom Keenan who worked there, and he was in charge of Mets.com. And he said, come on in and, we're not going to pay you, but you can come see how things are done here and how we're doing it. And you don't say no to that. And so, 1 week after graduation, I was at Shea Stadium. So I got to be there the whole rest of that regular season. The team obviously went to the World Series against the Yankees. So I was able to be there for the playoffs and the World Series and all that. And once I got that foot in the door, I just never wanted to let it close. And so they weren't going to bring me back as an intern for 2001, but I was able to start getting press credentials through the contacts I've made and, on a very limited basis, maybe once a homestand. But I knew that I had a foot in the door. I was starting to make contacts in the industry. And I knew that if I had gone away to school, that wouldn't have existed if I'd gone to a faraway college. So I wanted to stay somewhere where I could take some college courses, but also head into Shea Stadium because I almost feel like in a lot of ways you can learn a lot in the classroom, but actually being there in the industry, it definitely accelerated my development, I think. And so I know that not everybody has those opportunities. And so I definitely want to take advantage of it.
I've heard that a lot, that, classes are good, but experience is more valuable for the most part.
I think I just learned more by doing it on a daily basis. Because you see situations arise that you probably never would have encountered in a classroom. I think just because it's not a scripted environment. Working in a clubhouse, learning to interview players. I remember the first time I interviewed a player, my heart was like coming out of my chest. I was, but you got to do it. You got to do it, and you get better at it. And I'm sure that it gets more polished over time. But I think there's no substitute for actually being in that environment and seeing how things are done, learning from the professionals who are there, the guys who have been around, guys and girls who are nice enough to take you under their wing, so to speak, and kind of teach you a thing here too. Sometimes you just got to make mistakes. Some of it is, hey, don't do that. We don't do that here. And you don't know it because you've never been in that environment before. So I think that all of that is very valuable.
So back to your career, I just want to know, what is your favorite part about your job?
I mean, other than the fact that I get to go to the ballpark and get paid for it, which is the greatest thing in the world, I think that it's opened me up to so many experiences that I never would have had otherwise. I've gotten to travel the country, been to almost every single major league park. I'm only missing the new one in Atlanta. I haven't been to that one, so I'm 29 out of 30. But just getting to go to cities, experience restaurants, the people that I've met in this industry. I mean, coming on the Yankee beat in 2007, I was able to cover the core four. Derek Jeter, I got to know Derek for 7 or 8 years. Mariano Rivera, Andy Pettitte, Jorge Posada. I mean, these guys are, in a lot of cases, winding up in Cooperstown. 2 of them are already going to the Hall of Fame. And we're talking about the all-time greats of this sport. And the fact that I have personal relationships with them that I obviously could call upon later when we did those books was great. But just getting to see how they prepare, getting to be there every single day when Derek Jeter puts his socks on and heads out for batting practice. Like, it was, in the moment, you're trying to do the best job you can. But now that there's been more time separated, you think back and it's like, wow, that was really cool. Derek got his 3,000 hit. The anniversary was just a couple days ago, and I was there for that. And Mariano's 500, 600 save, and the final game where Mariano walked off the mound. I think it's just being there for all those moments. And you look at any moment in Yankees history that's happened since 2007, I've been there for pretty much all of it. So had a front row seat for a lot of things that people are going to be talking about for decades to come.
Yeah. You're so knowledgeable on like every aspect of the game, and I even read Mark Teixeira, praising your knowledge. Would you ever consider taking maybe a front office position, or do you have your dream job?
I think for now I do. Yeah, for now I do. I mean, look, you never say never to anything, right? But I think it would have to be that's a pretty big leap, and I think that's an even more competitive field in a lot of ways than what I do. And so, that you've got wins and losses on the line every single day. So I think it's not something I've really considered to this point. But I love writing, and I think I would miss the writing part of it, the interviewing. I just love the craft of what we do here. So, I think I'm in the right place.
So as the Yankees beat reporter, is MLB technically your employer or boss?
Right. Yeah. So I work for Major League Baseball Advanced Media, and the best way to describe it is I'm assigned to the Yankees. And so we've got 30 beat reporters who travel the country under normal circumstances, not so much right now, but who are with their teams pretty much embedded from day one of spring training to the final out of the World Series. And so anything that happens on the Yankees beat, that falls in my jurisdiction. So whether that's player injuries or game stories or a big trade or a big free agent signing like Garrett Cole. So yeah, that's where my responsibilities lie.